A temple door opens by itself. No hand pushes it. No priest touches the frame. No voice calls from the dark. A fire is lit on an altar, and inside the hidden body of the machine, the air begins to expand. Pressure builds inside a sealed space. Water is forced from one vessel into another. A suspended container becomes heavier. It sinks. A chain pulls. A pulley turns. A counterweight shifts. The movement travels through the concealed parts of the device until it reaches the doors. For someone standing outside, the effect could feel almost alive. Flame offered, door responding. But nothing inside the machine is alive. Nothing thinks. Nothing decides. There is no artificial intelligence hidden in the ancient world. No forgotten robot mind waiting behind the altar. There is only heat, air, water, weight, and timing, arranged with enough skill to make matter seem as if it has responded. That mechanism appears in the technical writings of Hero of Alexandria. It also gives us a more careful way into the question of ancient robots than any bronze giant or modern headline. So the question is not simply whether the ancient world had robots. It did not, at least not in the way we mean the word now. The more useful question is why ancient people kept imagining, and sometimes engineering, things that crossed the boundary between object and actor. Bronze guardians, golden servants, self-moving tripods, temple doors, water clocks, mechanical theaters. Some belong to myth, some belong to technical writing. Some were diagrams, demonstrations, or reconstructions rather than excavated machines. But they all point toward the same fascination. The moment when lifeless matter begins to look as if it has a will. One of the most vivid ancient artificial beings was not a machine in any recoverable technical sense. He was Talos, the bronze guardian of Crete. In the story told by Apollonius Rhodius, Talos is a bronze man who circles the island, guarding it against strangers. The scene is coastal and defensive, a ship approaching, a dangerous shore, a body of metal moving around the edge of Crete, as if the island itself had been given a weapon. When the Argonauts come near, he hurls stones at them from the coast. He is not described as a carved statue that simply stands in place. He moves. He patrols. He protects territory. He has force, purpose, and a strange vulnerability, a vein near his ankle through which divine ichor can escape. That detail matters because it makes Talos more than a metal object. He is made of bronze, but he is not only bronze. He has a point of weakness, a circulation, a way to be disabled. Myth gives him something like anatomy, but not human anatomy. It imagines a manufactured body that can act in the world. Talos is tempting to call a robot. In a thumbnail, he almost asks for it. A bronze giant, a guardian machine, an artificial body standing between an island and the sea. But that would make the evidence less clear, not more. Talos is not proof that ancient people built mechanical soldiers. He points to something different, the ancient ability to picture made matter as a servant of power. And that raises the maker question. In myth, if bronze can become a guardian, what kind of craft could make it move? That question leads into the workshop of Hephaestus. In Homeric tradition, Hephaestus is not only a god of fire and metalwork, he is a maker of things that blur the line between object and living being. His golden attendants are described as like living young women with intelligence, speech, strength, and learned skills. Elsewhere, his self-moving tripods roll on golden wheels, moving toward the assembly of the gods and back again. The imagery belongs to a workshop. Fire, metal, gold, wheels, tools, skill. These are not machines whose gears can be reconstructed from the poem. They are divine works. The point is not mechanics, but possibility. In the hands of a god, gold can become helper, servant, attendant. Furniture can move. The workshop can produce objects that seem to possess intention. In this mythic register, artificial life is tied to craft. Not abstract invention, but making. Metal, fire, tools, skill, labor. Hephaestus's animated creations are not random wonders. They belong to a divine artisan whose power is expressed through fabrication. Hero gives a different answer to the same imaginative pressure. Not life created by divine craft, but motion produced by human mechanism. His devices do not claim to create living beings. They do something more limited and more technically revealing. They show how human craft could stage the appearance of response. The fire-operated temple doors are a useful example because every part of the apparent miracle has a material cause. The flame heats air. The air pushes water. The water changes weight. The weight pulls chains. The chains turn the door pivots. When the fire goes out, the process can reverse. From outside, the effect could look like a door answering an offering. Inside the mechanism, there is no answer at all. There is pressure, displacement, balance, and concealment. Hero's writings include other devices from the same world of engineered wonder. Altar-linked effects, libations produced through heat and pressure, sounds made by mechanisms, figures set in motion. His text does not let us walk into every ancient temple and assume hidden machines were waiting there. It gives us something narrower, but still powerful. Technical descriptions that place mechanical effects inside ritual-looking scenes. That caution matters. These descriptions do not prove that such devices were common in actual temples across the ancient world. They do not prove that priests were faking religion. They show that ancient technical imagination could combine motion, sound, fire, water, and hidden space to create a powerful experience. A temple was already a place where ordinary matter could carry more than ordinary meaning. Stone, smoke, doors, statues, offerings, lamps, and sound all shaped perception. A mechanism did not need to be understood as a trick to matter. It could intensify the atmosphere of presence. The machine did not have to be alive. It had to make the viewer feel that the world had responded. That response was built from forces everyone could see in daily life, arranged in ways most people could not see at once. Water falls. Air expands when heated. Weight pulls downward. A siphon can move liquid from one vessel to another. A counterweight can reverse motion. A hole in a container can let water drain at a steady rate. None of these facts is artificial life. Together, under control, they can make a device appear to move with purpose. Water clocks give a simpler version of the same principle. A vessel drains. The level changes. Time becomes visible through movement. In an Egyptian clepsydra model, or in Greek hydraulic clocks used to measure time, the mechanism does not think about time. It translates flow into duration. It lets water do the counting. That makes the water clock useful here, even though it is not trying to imitate a body. It shows how a material process can be constrained until it appears to perform a task. Water would fall anyway. The device gives that falling a shape. It turns flow into measurement, and measurement into public order, a limit for a speech, a visible interval, a way of letting liquid mark what human attention cannot hold perfectly on its own. That is why the phrase self-moving can mislead. A device may move without being pushed by a visible hand, but that does not mean it has a mind. In ancient automata, motion could be hidden, delayed, transferred, or sequenced. The force might begin in a flame, a falling weight, a stream of water, or a wound-up arrangement of chords. By the time the viewer saw the result, the cause had disappeared into the structure. Once motion can be hidden and delayed, it can also be arranged into a scene. Hero's work on Automata includes theatrical devices, machines that could present moving displays within architectural frames. Some were mobile, some were stationary. They were powered not by intelligence, but by falling weights and concealed mechanisms. A reconstructed moving theater associated with Hero shows how far this idea could go. It is imagined as a cabinet-like structure on wheels, with its mechanism hidden inside. A counterweight descends through a container filled with millet, slowing and regulating the fall. As that hidden weight moves, the visible scene changes. The display stages a Dionysian rite: sacrifice, celebration, sound, movement, and return. This is not a surviving, intact ancient robot. It is a reconstruction of a device from the Automata tradition associated with Hero, but it remains a powerful trace because it shows the kind of action the text was trying to organize. Not one movement, but a sequence. Not simply a door opening, but a miniature performance. Again, the careful word is not robot. It is automaton, a device set up to move according to a prepared sequence. But even that technical description does not capture the full experience. A single door opening can feel like a response. A mechanical theater can feel like a miniature world. Figures move, actions follow one another, sounds occur at the right moment, and the viewer is invited to read motion as event. This is a different kind of artificial life. Not a bronze body walking around Crete. Not golden servants with speech and intelligence. Not a machine that decides what to do. Instead, it is matter arranged so that a scene appears to unfold. The staging depends on the gap between the visible and the hidden. The viewer sees a figure move. The maker knows the weight is falling. The viewer hears a sound. The maker knows air or water has been redirected. The viewer sees a door open after fire touches the altar. The maker knows the fire has changed pressure inside a sealed space. Automata live in that gap between effect and cause. That same gap helps explain why Talos remains compelling. Even though he belongs to myth, he stands at the far end of the imagination, a bronze body with agency. Hero's devices stand at the technical end. mechanisms with no agency, but with the appearance of action. Hephaestus' workshop sits between them, where divine craft makes the impossible seem natural. Together, they show that ancient artificial life was not one idea. It was a cluster of related possibilities. A made body could guard an island. A divine servant could assist its maker. A temple door could open after a flame was lit. A clock could turn water into measured time. A miniature theater could make figures perform a sacred scene. Each case uses a different kind of evidence. Each case has different limits, but all of them return to the same fascination. Matter that crosses, or seems to cross, the line between object and actor. The same problem appears again when clocks begin to stage time. Centuries later, in the medieval Islamic world, technical manuscripts associated with Al-Jazari show another rich tradition of ingenious mechanical devices. Museum-held folios depict clocks and automata, including famous clock mechanisms where figures act at intervals. Birds whistle, balls drop, animals and human figures participate in the marking of time. This should not be reduced to a simple story of copying from Greece. Without specific evidence, that would be too blunt. It is safer and more interesting to see it as part of a longer mechanical imagination. Quartz, manuscripts, clocks, spectacle and craft, preserving and transforming the delight of engineered motion. The later material matters because it reminds us that automata were never only about utility. A clock could tell time, but it could also turn time into theater. A mechanism could measure an interval, but it could also make that interval visible through an animal, a rider, a bird, a ball, a sound. That is close to what Hero's devices already suggest. Ancient automation was not just a technical problem, it was a problem of arranged perception. How do you make an object appear to respond? How do you make a hidden cause produce a visible sign? How do you make an audience feel that motion has meaning? This is why the phrase ancient robots is useful, only if we let it break down. If by robot we mean an artificial intelligence, an electronic body, a programmable worker, or a mechanical person able to sense and decide, then the ancient evidence does not show that. Talos is myth. Hephaestus' attendants are divine poetry. Hero's devices are technical descriptions of mechanisms, not thinking beings. Temple-like machines in Hero should not be treated as proof of common temple installations. Later automata belong to their own historical worlds. But if the question is older, whether humans long imagined and engineered ways for lifeless matter to imitate action, then the answer is much richer. Return to the temple door. The fire is still just fire. The air is still just air. The water still obeys pressure and weight. Nothing inside the device has woken up. But after Talos, Hephaestus, the water clock, the theater cabinet, and the later manuscript clocks, that door no longer looks like a simple trick. It looks like one trace in a much longer attempt to make matter perform. The surviving evidence does not give one simple origin story. It gives a chain of attempts. A mythic bronze guardian at the edge of Crete, golden attendants in a divine workshop, a firelit altar connected to hidden vessels and doors, water draining through a clock, a miniature theater moved by falling weights, a manuscript image of later automata turning time into performance. None of these traces proves a lost age of robots. They show something more human, and perhaps more persistent. The ancient desire to make the material world behave as if it could move with purpose. The machines did not pretend to be alive on their own. People made them do that. They built the hidden tubes, wrote the stories, shaped the bronze, imagined the servants, balanced the weights, and watched the doors open. And in that moment, the boundary between object and actor became visible, not because it disappeared, but because ancient people learned how to make us look directly at it.